throughout the years as a PC gamer, content creator, and just general like audio enthusiast, I've used headphones like this. These are the Razer Black Sharks. But when you talk to larger YouTubers, they're not anybody's real recommendation. They're good at their price at just $50. They're really hard to beat. But if you ask them for what to actually buy for gaming, you're going to hear a recommendation that comes up a lot. Sennheiser. Specifically, a variation of the 6XX or the 650s. But why? Why specifically these headphones? And more importantly, am I even able to drive something like this? What do you need to drive something like this? And are they even worth it? Let's go on a journey to find out, because I certainly have never, ever owned anything like this. Hello and welcome. My name is Wolfie. You're watching GreaterThanPie. And if you are subscribed to our channel, you are awesome. Yes, you. I really, really appreciate you. All right, so let's talk about these headphones and why they're so interesting and really why it's a weird recommendation that it comes up so often. So these are the Sennheiser 6XX, which is the drop variant of the Sennheiser 650s, if I'm not mistaken. They're open back headphones, which I've never actually owned a single pair of open back headphones. They come in around 250 MSRP, but can be regularly had for around 200. And they come with the Sennheiser branding, despite them being mostly sold through drop in this variation. The weird thing about a pair of headphones like this is you can't actually just run them like normal. You actually have to have a DAC amp combination that actually works well with headphones of this impedance. So these come up at the upper end of what most consumer DACs can actually do, which is 300 ohms. And I specifically got on this journey of buying these for a very weird reason. It wasn't because of Linus or Jay or Steve or Steve or Steve. Instead, this was actually because I coincidentally started the process of testing a gaming amp DAC sound card, is what they called it. I noticed that it had some extremely high audio fidelity features built into it that I literally could not test with a pair of Black Sharks. So I looked into it and came to this conclusion. Now, that being said, we're going to be going on an auditory journey together because I've never owned a pair of headphones like this. So let's get into the box. The actual box itself is pretty plain. And since it came from drop, it's got nothing to seal it. Okay. So here is our instructions. Our instructions, how to put on headphones. Step 1, grab headphones. Step 2, put on headphones. Step 3, turn head. Step 4, squish the cups. Step 5, install the cables. I'm not exactly sure what these steps are, but they're a pair of headphones. It shouldn't be too hard. There's going to be no special software. This is going to be running through specifically the 3.5 millimeter jack, which step 5 wasn't needed. Oh my goodness. It's converted. In fact, you can actually, because of this connector, which I did research, this is called a TRS connector, and you can change this cable if you wanted to. Well, it comes with it though. I mean, she's pretty long. God, that's actually longer than 6 feet. So not bad. So we've got a little bit of cup left and right for adjustment. The band is pretty flexible. And there is a ratcheting mechanism. And it's funny, this actually has the Mash Drop logo on it. See if I can get a good shot of that. So these were created back when drop was still Mash Drop. Interesting. So here's that open back. You can see right into the headphones. There's not really much to look at other than like this cool little connector. This is the TRS connector. And they go lettering facing out. Bet you that is directional. The cushions are this nice kind of fabric-y feel. And then there is memory foam towards the top. And then the Sennheiser logo. And these are directional. So you got a left and you got a right. It is literally everywhere on the cable, on the headset itself. And it looks like, oh my, there's a lot of adjustability for big heads if you really needed it. Those have a really, whoa, that is so weird. All right, that's sitting now on my head pretty comfy. There's a lot of clamping pressure. Like, you're not going to be able to shake these off easily. That's pretty good. But here's the crazy thing. I can hear perfectly fine right now. I have to like tie my hair back so it doesn't look bad while doing this, but I can hear you like perfectly fine. The world outside me is not muffled at all. That's that open back design, I'm guessing. Now, I wonder what advantage that actually gives. All right, let's go ahead and plug these into, well, a sufficient DAC and amp and give them a good listen.
All right, let's start with a fun game that I've used a couple times on this channel to test displays, and it's Muse Dash. It's a music game. It's really fun to play, and it's one of those games that really is at a disadvantage for gaming headphones, and that's because the hit notes are bassy, and gaming headphones tend to elevate the bass. And yeah, I mean, while playing this game, you can very clearly hear using these headphones that that's not the case anymore. It definitely keeps everything a bit more level. And because of that, the hits aren't as distracting, which resulted in me getting a full combo on the song, despite me never doing that before. I could say that this is just straight skill. I could just say that this is the headphones. Either way, the performance of the headphones in this use case is actually really good. And it has a nice advantage over a pair of gaming headphones, just based off the fact that this is its baseline. Now let's move over to Starfield. Now, Starfield is an interesting game because it's mastered really well. It has very good ambient music, very good ambient sound effects. The vocals are mixed pretty well. And so essentially, it's a very good game to test something like this. And again, what we hear, and it's hard to kind of convey this, is that, yeah, it performs. In fact, in high action combat scenes, it's easier to hear where enemies are coming from because you're not necessarily getting that really heavy bass that comes from firing your weapon. Additionally, despite just having all of that positional audio, the levels of everything, because they're so even, it makes it so that the experience is extremely immersive. With the graphics plus the audio, this is a game you can easily get sucked into. And while I can say that I've done that with normal headphones, this is the first time it really feels open. It almost expands outside of what you are typically expecting. And then for our last game, we've got Genshin Impact, which has absolutely beautiful music, really good sound design. There is a little bit of crushing that sometimes happens in Genshin's audio. And hilariously, while I was testing this, I discovered that you can switch it to surround sound, and that seems to fix the problem. So that's what I did. And it just sounds great. And over the course of all of our tests, this was around like 50 minutes of recording. I wore these headphones without a problem. They're comfy, they're lightweight, and they're overall really good. And so despite having to do a little bit of finagling by getting a sound card that has the right ohms to drive them, they're incredible and they're incredibly easy to use. And I think that the best part about all of this is, despite us not running them like normal gaming headphones, with the Sound Blaster software, we could just as easily decide to pump that bass up and actually treat them more like traditional gaming headphones. Or there's a scout mode that actually makes it so that we can hear footsteps a little bit better, which is a typical cheat function on those types of headphones. So yeah, it's almost like the hardware is working together to make something that works as both a really good pair of headphones and a really good pair of gaming headphones. It's like, it's difficult to endorse a normal pair of gaming headphones, but I do think that there are still some cases in which you would. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've abused the heck out of these headphones, and they're still like really solid. But more importantly, this was an experience.
is an experience that I'm willing to continue down. I don't know if I can go back to gaming headphones after using these. But I also don't think that it's entirely out of the picture. Now, I do think that saying that gaming headphones are inherently bad because these are so good, roughly in a very similar price point and category, I do think that that's a bad faith argument, but not because I think that these are worse than gaming headphones. No, these are infinitely better. Gaming headphones are a different beast. They're not tuned to be accurate. They're not tuned to be good. They're tuned for games. In fact, you can look up just about any pair of gaming headphones and they'll talk about things like boosting footsteps or better sensory positioning. And that is actually a win for them. Open back headphones sound great. It opens up the soundstage to a way that actually just, if you've never tried it, it's hard to explain. It's like having speakers, but it's on your head. They're positioned so differently. It's so open. But closed back headphones have an advantage. Isolation. Sound isolation is big when you're playing a game very intensely. If you're playing something competitive, you want to hear those footsteps. I will tell you that at a point in my life, I was a hardcore, sweaty, competitive gamer. And when I was that, I loved having headphones that I could hear the footsteps a little bit clearer. I loved having headphones with positional audio. I loved having that isolated feel because it helped me stay in the game. And I was better because of my gear than a lot of people who were playing these games. And that, I think, is the true crux of the argument. This headphone, the Sennheisers, are so good that I would honestly have a hard time going back to gaming headphones. But while I would have a hard time going back to gaming headphones for that reason, I do see a use. I see value in them. And that value is that they're actually made for gaming. Now, I have noticed that some gaming companies are creating audiophile grade products now, or at least claiming to. Razer has a pair of IEMs, which I'm half tempted to buy because the idea of Razer in-ear monitors is just fascinating to me. And I do want to try some gaming headsets from non-gaming brands. There's actually a couple on drop that look absolutely fascinating. Additionally, running a pair of gaming headphones is easy compared to those. I had to kind of learn a little bit about DACs and amps and all of that fun stuff. And actually, it has helped my YouTube videos sound better because I've learned about preamps and all of this crazy stuff. And fortunately, my reasoning for buying those headphones was because I had a new DAC amp sound card solution that could utilize it. But there are going to be some cases where your computer can't unless you had something like that. And while I do actually really enjoy using a sound card in this current year, I can see more people not having it than having it. So it's hard to recommend these above everything else. But if you are willing to invest in a setup like this, where you have a dedicated DAC amp sound card solution, the one that I have before this, the video about the Sound Blaster, honestly, I can't recommend it enough. It's great. And the internal one is even better, but a little bit more expensive. So it's like, both of those are really good options for having a kind of easy entry point into getting a pair of headphones like this. There's also another one by Sennheiser that's admittedly easier to run, and I kind of want to pick them up because they are also like another $80 cheaper, and they could be a good option if they sound just as good. And I've actually seen a lot of evidence on drop that those are people's preferred headphones because they work with your cell phone. They'll work with your, I was gonna say MP3 players, but those don't exist anymore. They'll work with your Oculus. They'll work with more devices. So it's a weird world. I'm only now dipping my toes into it, but I can at least recommend the Sennheiser 6XXs. They're good. Their price is good. Their performance is great. And it is an eye-opening experience.
And I honestly can understand why it's pushed by so many YouTubers to just get a pair of those instead of a pair of gaming headphones. But, which like I said earlier, gaming headphones have their own use cases. And I'm still not going to stop buying them because, much like you guys, I consider myself more of a gamer than anything else. But that is where I'm going to end it today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, consider giving a like, maybe comment, subscribe, and you can always check out my review of the sound card that we actually plugged everything into. And there's also going to be another sound card coming up because I did an internal sound card more recently. And of course, there's going to be follow-up on more headphones. I mean, I've really wanted to get the newest Razer Kraken Kitties. They're not going to plug in those sound cards, but hey, you know, you never know what I'm going to end up buying for this channel next. What whim I'm going to go on. So if you want to come with me on this absolutely insane adventure, subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Wolfie, out.